Good morning and welcome to After GMS, a little ditty we put together. We have more fun on Fridays than any other day of the week. So you're in the right spot as I turn my device down. Sorry, it was talking back to me.
I know, I'm still logging in, sorry.
Oh, okay, well, you're faster than us. I'm Tracy McCain here with Christian Morgan. We have a lot to talk about, some great conversations. But first, let's talk about the forecast.
So there's good news.
Yes, I love the good news.
And there's bad news.
Don't like the bad news.
What do you want first?
Good news.
Good news is that the heat, big deal heat, is going on hiatus. The bad news is that we have to deal with one more day of the 90s, and that, of course, is today. First, though, take a look at this time lapse over Truist Field at Wake Forest University this morning. Just an absolutely beautiful sunrise. Some clouds, some of that smoky haze made for that nice sunrise this morning. I'll tell you what, if you were up early, you got a really nice treat in the sky. Just wanted to share that with you. Of course, yesterday was our hottest day of the year so far at a scorching 95 degrees. Of course, we didn't come close to breaking that record of 100 degrees for yesterday, which was set back in 1915. In fact, it's been over 3,000 days since we hit 100 degrees. Last time we did that was back in 2012. I don't think anybody's complaining about that either. 75 degrees right now out the door in the Triad, upper 70s to near 80 down south. And the dew points are still pretty bad. 68 the dew point here in the Triad, but check it out over in Raleigh and down to Fayetteville. Upper 70s to near 80 degrees for those dew points. Off to the northwest, though, you can kind of tell a little bit of a difference in the humidity because we have a cold front there, and that's working its way across North Carolina as we go throughout the day today. So we have one more hot day, but once that cold front gets by us tomorrow, high pressure from the north will build in. We get cooler. We get a little less humid air in here for the weekend, and it will be a noticeable difference, especially by July standards. Low 60s, maybe some spots in the upper 50s for dew points. Tell you what, when you compare that to the humidity we've had the last several days, it will really feel a whole lot different outside tomorrow. Saturday, without a doubt, is going to be the pick of the weekend too. Dry day of weather, but then the humidity stays low for a couple days. Of course, then it goes right back up again as we go into next week. It's really hard to keep it away for a long time, especially in the summer months. Here's how Futurecast plays things out as we go throughout the afternoon. A stray shower or storm somewhere across the area is not out of the question, but I expect most of us to stay dry. Your Saturday is an all dry day of weather. The rain chances don't come back until we get into your Sunday afternoon. So we'll top it out in the low 90s this afternoon. You factor in that heat and that humidity. Feels like it's in the mid and upper 90s in many locations. We also have those code yellow air quality alerts in place today because of the smoke and because of the haze in the atmosphere. So if you have asthma or breathing issues, just keep that in mind and be extra cautious if you're going to be outside today. Overnight, mostly clear skies, upper 60s to near 70 for those overnight lows. Your Saturday, again, the pick of the weekend days, upper 80s, low humidity, staying dry. Still low humidity on Sunday and a little on the cooler side of things, but we will bring back the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. And then, of course, heading into next week, it's a cooler weather pattern, of course, with extra cloud cover, but because we also have better rain chances next week. It'll be a cooler and wetter weather pattern through the middle of the week with a good chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms each afternoon.
I was trying to write our question here, but you know, autocorrect is not my friend.
No, mine either.
Do I have your attention now?
All right, you've got mine. 2 words here, red tide. You might have seen this video floating around social media. In it, Florida fisherman Tyler Capella covers himself in pounds of dead fish, and he did it to raise awareness about red tide, an environmental problem the fisherman fears will sink his business. Red tide is an algae bloom that can kill fish and make it hard for you, me, everyone to breathe. Take a look at these aerial shots in Miami Beach. You can see miles of dead fish there, killed by the massive algae bloom that has at times turned the water toxic and scared away tourists. It even appears to be forcing these baby sharks to swim up canals closer to the shore. Scientists say red tides naturally occur along Florida's Gulf Coast, but they believe warming ocean waters due to climate change may be making them more frequent. And we can see the destruction and the devastation in that area with those pounds and numbers of fish that are just ending up on the shoreline.
I know, it's really bad. And, you know, like you mentioned, the warm ocean water really doesn't help clear things out or get anything out of the way. And especially down there in the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of Tampa and St. Petersburg, Florida, I mean, it's just bathwater.
Yeah,
temperatures at
really
85, 86 degrees. That really doesn't help the situation at all. And a lot of this, I think, is actually caused by some runoff from factories and, you know, textile industries and stuff that are close by over there. All that runoff down into the ocean actually doesn't help at all. And, you know, it's kind of interesting. when we look at weather data and when we forecast, a lot of what we look at is from satellite. So we get pictures of the Earth, and when it's bad enough, you can actually see it on satellite. You can see all the microorganisms and all of that bacteria, I guess, if you will, kind of collecting together in one little pool. So
Right. It's alarming.
it is.
But hopefully there's something that can be done. I mean, they are natural to the area, but I don't know if it's at this magnitude. So let me show you something that happened back in 2018 right now, where red tide wiped out a good bit of this popular sport fish called snook. One way to help conservation efforts, according to Maine Laboratory and Aquarium.org, is to adopt a snook, which helps restock the species. So something to think about.
That's one way to kind of combat the problem. A snook.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of this problem before? You know, I was trying to type that in
the chat here.
It did not happen the way I wanted it to, but Kathy did make a little light of it. She said, "Baby shark, do 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 do." And you know, we get that too. So, but a lot of people, you know, it could affect their economy there with tourism being down. Nobody wants to walk down to the beach and see a bunch of, you know, fish who, you know, are dead. Let's be blunt. And then, you know, the fishermen who require on this for their living and, you know, their jobs, their careers, what they do. I mean, it can be devastating, but hopefully we can get going here and fix the problem.
And you know, you hear the word red tide.
Yeah.
And it automatically sounds an alarm in your mind. You're like, okay, well, I know that's not good. And then you see the pictures of just thousands of dead fish that line the coast. And so obviously it's a health concern. Obviously it keeps tourists away, and we were talking about the impact that it has on the economy. There's a lot of different factors at play here. So, you know, actually one of our former WFMYers, that actually used to be our chief meteorologist, Grant Gilmore, works down in the Tampa Bay area at one of our stations there, and I've seen him posting and talking about this a lot. So they've really kind of been keeping it in the forefront of their minds down there and talking about it a lot. So it's an issue. It's a bad problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did get a few comments in, some people who are familiar with Florida. Bobby said, "My parents lived in Florida. I am old." So we're talking about the 1970s that they lived there. It's interesting that warming ocean water would be blamed, because I remember my parents having trouble with red tide. It always made my mom sick. And then Bobby continued to say, "This is nothing new." So that's good to have that perspective from that. And then, of course, somebody said that it could impact seafood prices. Which is, that's Kayana, who's one of our producers. So, I mean, there is a little bit of an impact here. Maybe I say a little bit, but it could be a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of something that we can do to help. Kathy said, "So what can we do to help?" I did Google that. There are some foundations that have been set up and nonprofit organizations. Now you have to vet them, because I was not able to do that this morning. But if you Google red tide donations, there are some sites that pop up. Again, vet them carefully so you're not just giving to an organization that you have no information about. And then you can donate that way and make sure that money gets to where it needs to go.
I think the good news that you mentioned is that, and you know, that they mentioned here in the chat, it was Bobby that mentioned it, right? Said her parents live there and this happens every year. So to them, you know, it's not alarming. It's not probably not one of these things. Right. It's just something that happens every year. Now, of course, it's probably an annoyance.
Right.
But maybe, you know, you come to expect it this time every year as everything warms up and the waters get a little warmer. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Bobby.
I did love that perspective. Because, you know, in the story, we saw one fisherman's perspective and how he was showing off, you know, the dead fish and, you know, blaming red tide. But it's always good to have a balanced look at things. And so that's why we like talking to you.
That's right.
Balance things out. It's like breakfast. Gotta have a balanced meal.
Talk about all those dead fish, and then we talk about breakfast.
It's always about that. Christy wanted to know, how will this affect the North Carolina beaches? And I haven't seen any evidence of that, because it's a Gulf Coast thing.
Right. It's a Gulf Coast kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, we're talking about this on the western coast of Florida in the Gulf states, or in the Gulf Coast area there in the Florida Peninsula. Not really so much on the eastern coast of Florida.
Right. So we're good there. All right, so let's get to your morning headlines before we jump into our next conversation. Big news announced just yesterday. Governor Roy Cooper issuing new executive orders in response to the rise in COVID-19 infections across the state. The state will now begin verifying the vaccination status of government employees. Employees not vaccinated are required to wear a mask and be tested for COVID at least once a week. Governor Cooper is also urging private businesses to do the same. The governor's latest executive order did not include a mask mandate for our state. Instead, he recommended all K-12 schools require masks. He also encouraged vaccinated people living in areas with high rates of virus spread to wear them too. The governor says getting vaccinated is urgent and not to wait until you lose a loved one to the virus. Time is running out for people looking to get rental assistance during the pandemic. The national eviction moratorium ends tomorrow. The Census Bureau says more than 8 million people were behind on rent just this past June. The Treasury Department urges people to look for help on the website consumerfinance.gov. And remember, there is also help available right here in North Carolina. The state's HOPE program helps cover rent and utility expenses. It's now accepting applications from people who bring home up to 80% of the median income in their county. For information on how to apply, head to WFMYnews2.com. Well, Guilford County needs nurses, counselors, nutritionists, and more. Dental assistants even on that list. WFMY News 2's Denise McMiller fills you in on the need and the options for those who do not have a medical degree.
Well, there are dozens of open positions for folks looking for jobs in public health and social services. If you're interested, come here to 1203 Maple Street today from 3 to 7 p.m. Dress to impress with your resume in hand. On your screen are just some of the positions they're looking to fill. Talented nurses, dental team members, case nutritionists, and data managers are just some of the positions. At the job fair, there will be several booths set up with folks ready to take resumes and answer any questions job seekers may have.
We have a variety of different positions. Not all of them are considered in the medical field. So even if you don't have a medical degree, we may have an opportunity for you to join the health department. Public health is a pretty diverse career to go into.
And take another look at the details for today's career fair. It'll run from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Social Services Building. Again, that's 1203 Maple Street. And this is the first time Guilford County DHHS has put on a job fair of this magnitude. So there's really positions for anyone who is looking for a job. And if you aren't able to make it to today's career fair, we'll have information on how you can apply at WFMYnews2.com.
All right, let's get to a story that is hitting your playlist this morning. New music from Prince is being released today. It's been 5 years since the legend's death, but his sound, his impact will certainly live on. Prince's estate says the pop icon will, pop icon. I think I said pipe icon. I don't want to do that. I want to be respectful in every way. So the pop icon recorded the album in 2010. It was mysteriously archived and secretly recorded by Prince. Here is a snippet of one of his songs called Welcome to America.
Welcome to America, where you can fail at your job, get fired, rehired.
Kind of got that jazzy soulful feel, yeah, and it has a lot of spoken word. I'm noticing, at least in that song, he went much further than his days of Purple Rain.
Oh yes.
Yeah, although that's like classic.
That'll never get old though.
Yes, Little Red Corvette.
Woo. When Doves Cry.
Oh, now you're talking. Yes.
Good stuff.
Well, Prince is one of the legends whose timeless classics will live on, and there are so many others. So we want to know, which artists do you consider timeless? Let us know in the comments. So, all right, we've got one, Prince. You mentioned two of my favorites earlier on the morning
I've got
show.
a couple. The Eagles for me and Elton John for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, the way I kind of look at that, Eagles have always been my favorite band.
Yeah.
It's always been really a toss-up between the Eagles and Elton John. But I grew up on that. That's what my parents grew up on, and that's what I grew up on, listening to what my parents listened to. And even so, you know, there are plenty of people who are younger than me that I know that still listen to the Eagles and listen to Elton John's music. And I just think that those are timeless bands and timeless songs that will always live on.
Yeah, absolutely. We were mentioning certain songs that kind of stuck out, and I was thinking of Change the World, which
Eric Clapton?
Eric Clapton did.
Yep.
I think that was a solo project.
It was.
And it's, I mean, I think of that song all the time. I'm like, it's just so smooth and relaxing, and he played his own instruments and was so talented. When I think of timeless music, I immediately go to Motown. I think of those songs with those classic melodies and beat lines that you can just hear like 5 notes and automatically know what song it is.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, you know what I'm talking about.
It's just the Temptations will always live on. I mean, Jackson 5.
Definitely.
That's just stuff that people will always know.
Yeah.
And even if you're young now, or you're just having children being born into this world, you know that music, you're going to be listening to it. They'll eventually grow up and hear about it or learn about it. Because I think part of the reason for that is there's so much rich history in music. And we've learned so much about music, and music has evolved and came so far because of those artists. So again, I think those are just all timeless, timeless artists, timeless songs.
It's funny, over the Christmas holiday, my daughter was performing in a virtual recital with her dance company, and the song was by the Jackson 5, and now it just escaped my head, but it was it was redone 1,000 times by other people. But she was just like, oh, I love the song. She's like, these boys are so good. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
This was definitely way before your time. But, just kind of interesting how it just lives on.
It is. And this Prince album, I'll draw it back there for a second. The Prince album is really cool because there's tons of stuff that I don't even think we've scratched the surface yet on Prince that he recorded in those studios at Paisley Park where he lived. And I think this album was recorded, like 10 years ago?
2010, so 11.
Yeah, so 11 years ago. And I was reading an article where he said, I know that after I die, this stuff is going to be dug up again, and it's going to be produced, and it's going to come out. And when it happens, it happens. He said it's kind of like, I guess, like his secret project. He wanted to leave us with that. So it's really interesting.
I was watching, do you watch Entertainment Tonight?
Yeah.
So Shelby J, who is from Greensboro,
Right.
who performed with Prince for decades, and is really helping to continue his legendary status and his, the things that he wanted. She was saying the other day that, he had a vault that few people knew about and would put music in there. And then they discovered like all of the music was on the outside of the vault, and they were like, I wonder why. And then they figured out that he must have forgotten the passcode and decided just to put it outside of the vault. So kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. She has some great insight on his life and the things that he wanted to do during his time. All right, so let's get to some of what you are saying. We gave you a lot of time to talk about that. So I have to scroll back here. Bobby Odom said, Cher.
Ooh.
Yes. Name a song from Cher.
Me?
Yeah. I always think of Sonny and Cher.
Yeah, that's what I think of, Sonny and Cher. But,
but she is classic, for sure. Okay. Bobby Davis says, Prince, of course. Dana said, Prince, Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire, Luther Vandross, Stevie Wonder. It's a long list, Dana, and I love it all.
That's a good list.
Bobby Odom said Dolly Parton.
Okay.
Jason Hutchins said Johnny Cash. Yeah, for sure. Ramona Miller said Whitney Houston. Agree 100%. Sonia said Marvin Gaye. Nice. Yeah. So good. Rance Allen. Now, is Rance Allen a country music artist? Detroit. Someone said in my head.
He is our producer.
Gospel artist. Got it.
Okay,
yes.
I got you.
Okay. LaMonica said definitely Michael Jackson. Carol Harris said the Carpenters, Luther Vandross, the Eagles. She said I saw them in concert. Jimmy Brim said Elvis, for sure.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We had Tamrika add in Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5. And then, Chuck Wilson added Elvis, timeless, enough said. Otis Redding, yes,
that's a good one
Tamrika,
too.
Absolutely. Heather Holland said Elton John, the Eagles, so some of the ones that you mentioned also.
Some good Wilson Pickett songs from back in the day. The other thing I'll mention too, a lot of these artists that folks are mentioning, and I think when Jason mentioned Johnny Cash, I thought about it, and there are, whether or not you're listening to the song that was originally written and recorded by Johnny Cash or whoever this artist may be, we're seeing now that a lot of new age artists are redoing
Yeah.
and remaking these old songs or sampling these old songs. So like I mentioned, I think there's always going to be that influence of some of these artists and some of their songs that stick with us for forever and ever.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure you clear it with their estate before you sample.
Yes.
Or you will be in trouble.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, not that any of you would ever do that, but yeah, you do have to kind of dot your I's, cross your T's on that note. And that we saw that with Dolly Parton's, classic song, I Will Always Love You, which was amazing the way she performed it. And then she admitted later in an interview, she's like, I never saw my song going to that level. And she said that, Whitney Houston's success with it surpassed all of her, expectations for it. So when when her folks asked if she could sample the song or remake the song, she was like, sure, whatever.
Go for it.
And she's like, had no idea that was going to be
That's
that
so
amazing.
cool.
So
Nobody mentioned the Beatles on here yet, I don't think, but I
don't think so.
That's just a given.
Yeah.
That's just a given.
Lots of great ones.
Wow.
I don't disagree with any of them
Me either.
on this list. I mean, they are all timeless, which is amazing. Bobby Odom wanted to make sure we knew that Cher sang Turn Back Time. Yeah, that's a good one. Turn back time.
I think that's all we can legally sing, right?
All
We'll leave
my
you with that. Now you can
contract
go
will
listen to the
allow.
song.
Yeah, well, all my contract will allow. So, okay. Thanks so much for weighing in. That ended up being a really great conversation.
That was fun.
Yeah. All right, will it be a great day in terms of weather?
Depends on if you like it hot. If you like it hot, yes. Okay, the good news is that the big deal heat, we're about done with that for a while. There are no 90s in the forecast after today. 93 this afternoon. You have to factor in the humidity. It'll feel like mid and upper 90s, but just a low chance of a pop-up shower or a thunderstorm with a cold front coming by. I think most of us stay dry. Saturday's a dry day of weather. It's a little cooler. It's a little less humid, too. We'll take all that low humidity that we can get. It sticks around for a while, too. We do add in the chance for showers and thunderstorms on Sunday afternoon, and we'll keep that chance around as we go into next week. So we enter more of a wetter weather pattern going into next week with a good chance for showers and thunderstorms each afternoon. But the extra cloud cover, the extra rain, will actually help hold our temperatures back a little bit. So low 80s as we go into the middle of the next week, a far cry from the mid 90s where we have been for the last several days. So things are a changing as we end July.
I'm so glad to see them go, the 90s. I mean, chances are they'll be back,
We're not out of the woods yet on that.
No, I mean, we still have a lot of summer left.
We've had 15 days at 90 degrees so far. We average about 30, 32, 33 every year, so there's still plenty of time.
Okay, great.
We'll see.
Nice note.
I just have to put that out there. I have to.
Nice note to end on. You started with great news, though. You did.
We'll end with great news.
Yes, exactly.
It's the weekend.
Yes! It is the weekend, and this is a point in our program where we like to look back at the long week and take a look at some of the moments that made us all laugh, smile, and kiki. This is the best of GMS.
See you.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Who sings that? The Jackson 5. Come on, guys.
Yeah, Ed, didn't you know that? The Jackson
Didn't
5.
you know that?
Gosh, Ed.
Come on, Christian. I was waiting for you to say it.
I was really waiting for it to hit
I
me, and then
literally
I
went
did
like this.
I couldn't think because I was just so struck by your voice.
I know that they're very happy to have their grandson Christian.
Yes.
Spoiled little guy. No, I don't know if he's spoiled. but
Well, he is the first on
He's
both
the
sides
first,
of the family,
yeah.
so by default, he gets a lot of attention. But
that's
yes.
awesome.
He'll be the most spoiled.
Well,
Being
Josiah
younger.
was the only boy
Oh.
until we had Julian. All these Christians I'm surrounded by.
I know,
until we
I
had
know.
Julian.
There's a lot of them. We've heard of coyotes, we've heard of raccoons, deer, fox. This is the first I've heard of a cougar.
Yeah.
In a long, long time.
Right.
Yeah.
But all of those animals you just mentioned, with the addition of bears, are on my do not mess with list.
Leave them alone.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a attack.
Okay, yeah. Do you see what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a fly.
Hey, that's one of my pets.
Oh.
That's one of my pets on the Greensboro weather cam.
So what does Ed do to stay cool? I'm a cool guy anyway. But, I knew
I'm out after
I
that.
knew that would get Tracy.